Hello, and welcome to the Hive Mind podcast, where the collective wisdom of the travel industry helps you match travelers with the right destinations and the right hotels. I'm your host, Whitney Schindler, founder and CEO of The Hive, a platform designed to give travel advisors organized, actionable insights you can put to work right away. Each week, I sit down for focused, real-world conversations with travel advisors, hoteliers, and supplier partners who know these places inside and out. We break down how each hotel is best suited to a specific client profile, take quick deep dives into destinations, and share pro tips to help you make the most of the Hive. And here's the best part. You don't need to take notes while you listen. Go about your day, tune in, and know that every insight from these conversations is already captured and organized inside the Hive, so it's there when you actually need it. And if you aren't on the Hive yet, you can get resources from this and other episodes when you join our newsletter at thehive.travel/podcast. Today's episode is part of the Stay Guide, where we explore multiple hotels in a single destination to highlight their unique strengths, differences, and the clients they're best suited for. We're focusing on Sardinia, and while there are many properties on the island, today we'll be diving into Hotel Abidoru, Hotel Capodorso, Baglioni Resort Sardinia, Seven Pines Resort Sardinia, W Sardinia Polto Quatu, Hotel Patrizia, and Romazino, a Belmont hotel. The goal isn't to rank or compare properties, but rather to give you the clarity and confidence to guide your clients with ease. Joining us to discuss their experiences staying at these properties and conducting site inspections is Stephanie Rizzolo of Sette Travel and Brittany Pigorini of Unfolded Travels. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. We have Stephanie Rizzolo from Sette Travel and Brittany Pigorini from Unfolded Travels with us today to dive into Sardinia. Stephanie and Brittany, welcome, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you. Thanks for having me.
So you guys you were recently at a trade show, I think, and doing a bunch of sites and staying at hotels in Sardinia, and your list was so long that we had to cut it in thirds.
Yes. Correct.
Yes.
I spent about a month in Sardinia this year. So I was at the conference and then also had a family trip in June. So spent a lot of time there.
And are you obsessed with the island? Are you going to go back? Do you want to sell it as much as possible? How are we feeling?
I already booked for next August. We're going back. So I love it.
I love it.
Absolutely love it.
I love it. And Stephanie, tell me about your experience with Sardinia. Is this a newfound love or have you been a longtime fan?
So this was my 19th trip to Italy, but my first trip to Sardinia. So, it was all new. It was really exciting for me because it's been on my list for so long, and to finally get on the ground and really understand the logistics. I was there for a week, so not quite as long as Brittany, but what I saw was super, super helpful and enlightening. So I feel really good about, selling the island now and kind of guiding my clients.
Incredible. Well, it is an island that is definitely on my radar. I've actually just confirmed clients who are going soon. They wanted to hike in the Dolomites, but they're going a little bit too early for the season, in May. And so I was like, how about Sardinia? And they're super, super stoked. So I'm finally kind of working it into proposals and itineraries, but I also have not yet been. So it's high on my list as well. Okay, so let's dive right in because we have 7 total hotels that we're going to chat about today. The focus and priority is to really try to understand which client profile is the best match for each of these properties. What are really the highlights of the properties? So if clients are absolutely looking for the stunning views or the beach or the culinary offerings, whatever it is that they're looking for, how can we best match them to these hotels? And then where the compromises are, because there are very few hotels that just tick all the boxes across the board. So really understanding if you have a client who's absolutely looking for fill in the blank, this hotel might not be the best option. So let's start with Abidoru. Is this how we say this, Brittany?
Sure. Yes. Close enough.
Correct my pronunciation, please. So you stayed at this hotel.
Yes. So with my family.
Tell us. Yeah, amazing. So, and all of these are northern Sardinia, right?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. I know that once you start diving into Sardinia logistics and proposals, north versus south is a big conversation. So everything we're talking about is north today. Okay. So tell me about your experience at Abidoru.
Yeah, so it was very good. I was there with my mom, and then I brought my brother, and then also my son. So he's 6. So it was kind of a good mix of different generations. And We had a really lovely stay. It's a 5-star. I would say the accommodations are probably a little bit more on your 4-star side, but the food was amazing. The beach is really, really beautiful. It's those turquoise waters that you're thinking of. I mean, it took probably 2 minutes to get from our room to the beach. There's a lovely pool. No complaints whatsoever. I feel like it's a really solid family hotel.
When you got there, was there anything that surprised you or anything that was a little bit different than you expected before arrival?
Not really. I mean, I think that the photos on the website kind of portray it. I wouldn't, the rooms are just kind of more standard interiors. Nothing in Sardinia in general is this like over the top luxury. And that's kind of what I came to find throughout traveling throughout the island. It's all very casual. I would say that mine was actually quite large. But no, I feel like it's pretty accurately portrayed. I wasn't blown away by the room aesthetic, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Overall, I felt like the facilities, the service, everything was really on par with the price point.
So it feels like the destination itself is more the focus than the actual like decoration in their rooms, for example. But you kind of felt this across Sardinia, not just in this hotel.
Personally, yeah. I don't know if you would agree that I didn't feel like most of the interior. I mean, there's nothing that's super luxury over the top that
or like Instagrammable. Like, did we have very many Instagrammable room interiors? High level, kind of.
No, I think once you get to the super luxe 5-star, you maybe start to see design elements that become more Instagrammable, views that become more Instagrammable. But I agree with Brittany in general. I think the island is pretty casual and pretty authentic and rustic in that way, where the focus is really just kind of embodying the sense of place, which is that casual lifestyle.
Awesome. I think high level, that's really important to understand because that alone could kind of cut off some conversations with clients if they are very, very hotel, like high-end luxury hotel focused.
Yes.
But if you are into this vibe, then let's continue. So you mentioned that you're there with your family. I think you mentioned there might have been multiple generations with you. So family hotel for sure. Are there any client profiles that you wouldn't send to this hotel? Would you send honeymooners there? Would you send like a group of friends there? Would you send adults, who aren't with their children? Does it feel like a good fit for all of these different profiles?
I wouldn't say it's particularly honeymoon. It's a little bit bigger of a resort. I didn't have that feel to me. It was definitely more family centered when I was there. I think a couple would enjoy themselves. But definitely it doesn't have like a honeymoon vibe to me. It doesn't feel particularly like romantic in that regard. So that's probably not who I would advise it for.
And if clients are looking for something very specific, like beach or pool or like really great culinary options, spa, these more kind of like niche requests, who is it great for and who might it not be the best for in that case?
So it's close to Porto Cervo, which I think is important to note because a lot of people want to go there. So you're in proximity. And it's also close to Porto Rotondo, which I actually prefer. It's about a 10-minute drive and it's just a lovely port. And that's where we went and got dinner quite a bit. I think it was less than 10 minutes away.
Perfect.
And the beach there is kind of those exact waters that you're thinking of with the white sand and the turquoise. And so for me, it was just an easy place like to get to the inland with 30 minutes. And we wanted to go to some of the vineyards and some of the agroturismo and like go inland. And so that was maybe 30 minutes to kind of get there. So it was really drivable. There wasn't, to me, it just felt like it was in a good location up north.
Yeah, it sounds like great for clients who are going to have a good portion of their time like out and about doing activities and excursions and then wanting to go into town for dinner some nights. Like it sounds like a good location for that type of traveler.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. Stephanie, do you have anything to add for this particular hotel?
I actually didn't get to see this hotel, so I don't.
Thanks for reminding me. I feel like I took all the notes and I can't remember what you saw and didn't. Should we move on to Capodorso?
Sure.
Perfect. Okay. What are our thoughts? What really exceeded expectations from Capodorso? Maybe upon arrival, like, oh, this is a little bit different than I was imagining. And that could be a good way, or that could just be, this is different. Or what really stood out to you of like, oh, this is this is worth highlighting or talking to clients about?
Yeah, I can start.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Reiterating that this was my first time to Sardinia, this was one of the first properties I saw, and I was surprised at how rustic it was. So, lots of stairs, really not like even ground, definitely not suited for anyone with any mobility issues.
Good
Probably
to
a little
know.
bit tough for anybody, maybe with small kids with strollers. So
Sure.
I think definitely a honeymoon property. If you like that kind of really nature focused rustic charm, I think it's a really, really unique property in that regard. But I think what stood out to me immediately was, just how it might not be suited for everyone. So that was the first thing that struck me.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Brittany, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they even mentioned themselves. I forget if it was even kid friendly or not. I think that it was, but they own another property that they even said, this is where we send families. It definitely is not somewhere I would send families to. I agree, completely rustic, but it has, I mean, beautiful, beautiful nature. I mean, it's just like the plants, all of the scenery is beautiful. You kind of have a lot of different places to like go in. Like they had a lot of like almost like little docks where you could go and sit out and just like be by the sea. It's a very, very kind of like sleepy vibe. So I would say it's, probably your best bet would be for like for a honeymoon. Like
A
exactly.
honeymooner. Yeah. Very lush, lots of plants. And it's very much, I think that's part of the appeal, right? It's not so much a beach destination. It does have a small beach, but that's not the feature there. They have several
Okay.
pools. But like Brittany said, I think like the number one market for that property is honeymooners or couples.
So good to know that if honeymooners are looking for a bigger beach, or if they're looking forward to the beach being a bigger part of their stay, even though this hotel could be great for honeymooners, it might not be great for like people who are really looking for that beach experience.
Yeah, if they're looking for kind of your long, like stretch of sand beach that you kind of envision with Sardinia, that's definitely not here.
Okay. What is here? Is there like from a culinary perspective, from a spa perspective? I mean, are they down like on the beach and the beach is just small, or are they up higher and more like beautiful views? Like what is the location like?
So there was a small beach and like a small sands beach kind of tucked into the corner. And then it had just like little areas, like I mentioned, where you could kind of sit out over the water and like you would dine basically on the water. And so, I mean, it has really beautiful views from there. But from a beach perspective, it's definitely not like where we mentioned before, where you're stepping out onto this, sandy beach and enjoying, walking down the beach is just kind of not the concept here. It's up in the hills, the property. That's why she was saying definitely not stroller or like mobility
With a lot of stairs.
There's a lot of stairs, a lot of kind of just, movement there.
Yeah, little nooks. And I think one of the special elements is that some of these suites are kind of tucked in, so you have more privacy. So you're facing out to the water. So I think the appeal of this property is that you kind of walk down these rocky staircases and walkways, and your suite is a little bit, off to itself. So you're not kind of butted right up against another couple with,
Cool.
separated by a little, dinky kind of wall or something.
So do you envision a client here that is kind of looking for a bit of a slower paced, quieter experience and maybe not leaving property so often or having dinner on site instead of going into town? Or do you think it, like the first one we discussed, that it's also a good fit for that more independent traveler who's kind of bouncing around and, off property a little bit more often? Who do you envision here?
I mean, it's not so far remote. Honestly, in Sardinia, you want to rent a car. So like,
Okay.
I have only booked one client that really wasn't comfortable driving. But the best way to get around is definitely a rental car and going and exploring different beaches, coves, etc. Like going inland, I always encourage it. So to me, I think here you would still want a car and you would probably still go off site to eat. Like nothing is particularly, far, at least from American standards. Like you can get to another lovely restaurant in 20 minutes or so from pretty much any of the hotels that we'll probably be discussing. And I encourage it, honestly.
Perfect. Any other final thoughts on this hotel before we move to the next one?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Right. We have Baglioni next on the list. So tell me the highlights, what really exceeded expectations about Baglioni?
Yeah, so I was there only one night, but I have had clients go there and really enjoy it. They went this past summer, and so the rooms are on the they're pretty updated and more on the modern side. Um,
Okay.
they have a kids club as well. They have a really lovely pool, and then they do have a really beautiful beach. But it's a bit of a trek to get there, so you usually will take a buggy to get down there. So if someone's kind of looking for, being in the sand within a couple minutes of leaving their door, it's definitely a little bit of a trek. You could walk it, but most people were taking the buggy to get there. So
Okay.
that's one thing to note. They don't have a restaurant at the words are blanking my mind right
At the beach?
there we go. And because I think it was because of just different bureaucratic reasons, but essentially that's one thing to know though, is if you're there, there's no beach club in terms of being able to get food. So you would have to go.
Are there chairs and towels and umbrellas?
Yes. So there's
Just
umbrellas.
no like food and beverage.
Exactly. So if you're trying to get like drink service or food service or anything, that's not possible at this beach.
Can you bring them with you?
I don't know, to be honest.
Feels like a bummer to not have a drink on the beach.
Exactly. So I was like, that's one thing. I mean, it's a very beautiful beach, and it is that kind of expansive sandy beach that you would be envisioning, really beautiful water. But I think it's because it's part of like the protected lands. I don't know if they eventually are going to be able to get one or not.
Sure.
But that was one thing that I wrote down was kind of like to note. My clients didn't seem to mind it, but some might.
I think it could make or break someone's trip if they're envisioning themselves on the beach all afternoon ordering beverages. But if your clients know in advance and that's a part of your discussions before you make the decision, then I'm sure some clients are totally fine with it. So I think that that's a big, just kind of like managing expectations type of detail.
And my clients that went didn't drink. So it wasn't an issue, but my husband would definitely be disappointed if he can't get, a drink on the beach. That's definitely something he would not enjoy. So
yeah,
I think that that's definitely a really good point to bring up with any client.
Stephanie, what are your thoughts? Did you
In a
get to
windstorm
visit?
over here? Yeah,
I can
sorry.
see it, but we can't hear it. So actually, it's totally fine.
Okay, just like looks like I'm in front of a wind fan. So I did not see the property, but I did have clients stay there, so I do have some feedback from them about it.
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned logistically where it is, so it's just south of Olbia, the airport. So you're not close to Porto Cervo or a lot of the big restaurants that people might want to visit during a trip to the north of Sardinia. That said, the clients did go into Porto Cervo for one day and one evening, and they were a bit disappointed on the drive distance for that. I think they had anticipated on maybe spending more time there. So understanding logistically that it isn't close or as close as some of these other properties we're talking about. They did do a boat experience. So they went up to the Maddalena, which are the islands between Corsica and Sardinia. From Baglioni, and they had a wonderful experience. So I would recommend doing that type of thing to kind of get up to the north, maybe stopping off at a beach club, having lunch, and kind of visiting the Porto Cervo area that way from Baglioni.
Sure.
But I think the driving can be, it is a long drive. So kind of guiding clients, if they really want to be near the action, it might not be the best property for them.
So Google Maps tells me that it's an hour and 6 minutes, but I'm sure on islands like this with traffic and windy roads and whatnot, we're probably looking at an hour and a half each way minimum.
Yeah.
So are there multiple dining venues on site, or are there other small restaurants nearby? If clients are too far from like the town for dinners and whatnot, then should we prepare them to dine on property most nights?
My clients actually drove a decent amount, which they were fine with. And they also kind of wanted more of a local experience. So that's one thing to note is she's correct. You're definitely the furthest away from, Porto Cervo out of these properties that we're going to mention. But there is dining. There was plenty of dining on site, and it was really good food. I actually really enjoyed the restaurants that we had there. But nearby is only like a small town. So they were kind of eating at more local eateries.
Okay.
So if you want to be, going to beach clubs and all of that, that's definitely not this property. My clients wanted to go hiking. They wanted to go on a boat. I knew they actually weren't going to be spending all of their time on site at the hotel. And so that's why I felt like it was a totally solid choice for them. But if they're really looking to be on site at a hotel and just like veg out on the beach, probably not your best bet.
Okay. And so I understand the location is not super close to Porto Cervo, but from a hiking perspective, from planning a boat day, from like these types of more soft adventure or adventurous activities, that location was totally fine and supportive.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. Any other thoughts on this property before we move on? Okay.
No,
Seven Pines. So I'm actually pulling all these up on Google Maps because even just to help me understand where these are. Let's see where Seven Pines is. Oh, it's near Porto Cervo, everyone. Okay. So tell me, Brittany, did you stay or visit at Seven Pines?
So we stayed there, and then we also had much of the True conference was on site at the hotel. So we were there.
It was actually at this hotel.
It was there in Seven Pines. So we were here.
W and Seven Pines shared the. Yeah, that's. I stayed at W, and Brittany stayed at Seven Pines, but we got to see each other's rooms. We got to experience the dining and the common outlets at both places.
At both. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I don't know why, but Seven Pines is one that I've heard of. I've never been to Sardinia. I've just sold it for the first time, but like, why have I heard of Seven Pines?
Probably
they have an Ibiza property that's very popular. I don't know if that might be why.
Okay, that actually makes sense. And are they connected?
They're sister. Yeah,
they're both
properties. Yep, and both under Hyatt.
Okay, that might actually make sense. Okay, so Brittany, tell me what, tell me a highlight or something that surprised you when you arrived at Seven Pines, because I'm sure that you knew about it before you got there. So when you arrived, what were some of your first impressions?
So to me, it feels the most like a Hyatt, if I'm being honest. I mean, it's definitely kind of rooms on top of rooms, like a resort feel. The rooms are definitely smaller. So I think mine was maybe 18 or 20 square meters. I did have a really nice balcony as well, but obviously that's all outdoor space. So the interior rooms are on the smaller side for sure. But I think that they were well done. Like the interiors here were probably some of the prettier ones that we saw. I mean, still very like casual and understated, but definitely on the newer side compared to some of the other hotels.
Okay. So I just did a quick search and I see that they have 75 rooms, which like from a Caribbean perspective is not a ton, but from a Sardinia perspective, this feels really big.
It felt to me, I don't know, you could correct me, like it felt like they were kind of just on top of each other though, a lot.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah, everything is concentrated to where the room area seems like more, like you said, clustered together.
Gotcha.
Not expansive. But the grounds were pretty large. Like the pool area was big and there was a large lawn area. So it didn't feel like a boutique hotel in the sense that it was small, but the room area was very concentrated.
It's all in one. It's all like all the guests are going back and forth to their room all in one area. Gotcha. So does it feel more like a resort in terms of like swimming pools and beaches and multiple dining venues? Like what should we envision? Like what's the vibe on property in terms of what a client is going to experience?
So the beach to me was probably the hardest sell because it wasn't much of a beach destination where you were thinking of it being a beach resort. It was also that they have something called Cone Club, which is their actual beach club. It was closed by the time we were visiting. So they kind of were using like
just because it's seasonal.
Yeah. So we were there in October. So that had already closed. And I did see it. And of course that one was larger, but this is definitely a pretty thin, like narrow stretch of beach that to me, it's not a beach destination, this hotel. At least you have beautiful sunsets. The sunsets on this part of the island are absolutely gorgeous. But to me, I wouldn't say sell it as a beach hotel.
So we've mentioned the beach situation at a lot of hotels so far. And I know that this is more of a destination question, but just so that we can kind of understand what Sardinia does offer and what it doesn't. Some of the beaches we've talked about don't have F&B services. some beaches are smaller. This one does seem smaller as well. Like it's not a place that you go for the beach. So does Sardinia have hotels that to go to that do have more expansive, broad, long beaches, and it's just not in this part of the island? Or is that just not what Sardinia is offering at all?
I mean, Avidoro definitely has, I would say that you could go there for the beach. Absolutely. One thing to note about Sardinia, though, is there is no private beach. So it doesn't exist. It's illegal to actually have a private beach. So
Okay.
even at Romazino, that we'll talk about later, any of these beaches, there can be people peddling, items. And I think that's one thing to note is, in other parts of Italy, you might not encounter that, but here you definitely will. But there are hotels that have that beach. But to be honest, when I was there, I just went and found, like, this is just how I like to travel. But I went and found beaches that were super private and just went with my family and found that on my own, if that makes sense. There's tons and tons of beautiful coves. So it depends on who your client is and what they want. I love a quiet beach on certain days. And so we were totally fine to do that. And it is absolutely gorgeous waters, but it's not those properties that you're thinking of in like the Caribbean. Like the water genuinely does look like that. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous, but it's not those huge properties that are just like mile-long coastline.
Right. Is the beach sandy or rocky?
Sandy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there are some rock beaches, of course, but up where we're talking about is definitely sandy.
Okay. What client profile do you feel makes sense for Seven Pines? Would you think about it for, is it okay with like older clients and walking, or are there a lot of stairs or long distances? Is it okay for families? Are there kids amenities? Would you send a honeymooner there? Like, who does it make sense for, and who is it maybe not the best option for in terms of client profile?
I think it could be for families. I do think that, definitely not for the 5-star luxe crowd, just because I think it is a bit more of a basic offering in terms of the quality of accommodation. I do think, a couple would enjoy it there, but it doesn't have that special romantic feel, or for me, it lacked that a bit. So I do think possibly for families, maybe for even friends who are going to see a DJ, because there is a lot of nightlife during the peak season, and a lot of people travel to Sardinia to experience that. So, like I said, people who aren't really there for, to hang out at the hotel, but really want to go to the beach clubs, want to go to the concerts at night or see the DJs, that could be a good option for.
That's interesting. Where is there an area where a lot of the concerts and DJ sets are taking place? Like, is it near some of these main?
That's Porto Cervo.
Porto Cervo.
And so this within such close proximity to Porto Cervo, like if you're not actually in Sardinia to spend a lot of time in the hotel, this might actually be a good option for you.
Yeah. Porto Cervo is kind of like your Monaco, I guess. I don't know how to compare, but it's literally in August, it's just yachts. Like you will just see yachts and yachts and yachts. Like that is that area. So Sardinia is just becoming popular, obviously with Americans, but it's very, very popular for European travelers, especially, of course, Italians, but also just in general. I mean, it's a very, very wealthy area. But I feel like a lot of the people that are coming there, and from talking to locals, they were saying, honestly, they're staying on their yachts. They're not staying in these hotels. And so I feel like the hotels are just sort of starting to catch up, because you will see so many boats in the water, especially in August.
Gotcha. So whenever I see any hotel that's a part of a big brand, my first thought or question is like, is there a sense of place? Like from not only from the decor and the visual aesthetic, but also just like on the vibe on property. Like if you just blindfolded me and dropped me into Seven Pines, would I know that I'm in Sardinia, or could I be anywhere?
I would say anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. I mean, some clients don't prioritize this, but others, like, that is a driving factor in decision making. So I think that that's really good. That's really good to know.
To me, I think that it was probably what was most shocking to me is it's priced quite high. So definitely I agree. It would probably be best for, maybe friends or possibly like families. But the price point is very high, I think, for what you would be expecting for that price. That's kind of what my takeaway was. I wasn't really sure that the value was there for what you would be spending personally.
That's really helpful to understand as well. Confidence is everything in this business. It's what earns client trust and makes the sales process feel effortless. But confidence doesn't just come with time, it comes with access to the right knowledge. That's what the Hive delivers. Whether you're just starting out, scaling fast, or leading a team, the Hive is your expertise vault, a living library of hotel details, destination insights, and advisor takeaways, all organized to help you build confidence faster and serve clients with clarity and ease. Learn more at thehive.travel. So next on our list is W Sardinia, which is also a part of a big brand. So I guess my first question is, did you feel more of a sense of place at the W, or did you feel it was similar, that could maybe be anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, kind of a mixed feelings on this. I was coming in thinking this is going to be another futuristic, very young W, like what we associate the brand with. But it honestly was not. It was much more, I think, elegant in the way that they designed it. Very, kind of soft colors. There was a bit of, I think, attention to detail in like the tiling that was used, in kind of the style of some of the furniture that was used. But when you look at it holistically, you do still, I think, get a sense that it is part of a brand. And maybe there are some hotels that have a stronger sense of place, but I still was very impressed for what it was as a W.
What were your thoughts, Brittany, from the perspective of like first impressions, and what kind of was a pleasant surprise for you at the W?
They actually pulled a lot of that traditional Sardinian architecture in. So a lot of that kind of like rounded ceilings, and kind of like that's what Sardinia is known for, and obviously kind of whitewashed. And I feel like they did a really good job of, you could walk into that hotel lobby, and to me, as someone who really enjoys design and architecture, I think they did a really beautiful job there. Whereas some of the, if you walked into, of course, Seven Pines, like that, where you're mentioning, is there a sense of place? No, I think that they did actually a really good job at the W. I wouldn't walk into that property and be like automatically like, this is a W. I do think it felt, they were mentioning that they're really trying to transition away from that kind of like drunken 30-year-old. Like, they're like, those people have now turned 40, and like
exactly
to cater to. And so they're really trying to kind of update the brand. And I think that this property was a really good showcase of them doing that successfully.
Yeah. And the room product too, you saw it kind of throughout, like very large rooms, kind of balconies overlooking the pool. Some of them had water views. The pool area, though, I will say, was, I think, what embodied W the most, with the DJ. So, for me, friends, couples, I think this property is very well suited for that demographic. But where we also, getting back to the beach, it's not a beach property. You can take a buggy to the beach, but it's not something that they like showcase as a feature of the hotel.
Okay. Looking at the map, it's not far from Seven Pines. It's also close to Porto Cervo. And I did a quick search. They have 154 rooms. So it's actually almost double the size of Seven Pines. So it's big, but did it feel? No,
It didn't feel large in that way. The room area, yes, there was many hallways and floors, and so you could possibly get lost getting to your room to another area. There were bridges from the accommodations over to the main restaurant, and kind of the gym. Gym was very kind of beautiful, like glass enclosed, all modern equipment, and the F&B there I was very impressed with as well. An incredible pastry chef. They hosted a beautiful lunch at a really long table for us. The food was really good. I in general was very impressed with that property.
Okay, it's really good to know. That's the first time you've mentioned F&B as well, which is my favorite part. So I'm listening very closely.
It was amazing. They told us that I was sitting next to the sales manager and the GM at the closing night party, and he's like, "This is our first time doing an event." They had opened 1 month prior, and they were
the W.
Yeah, they opened.
Oh, so it's brand new.
Brand new.
1 or 2 months. It just opened, and I mean, I was blown away. Like, usually you're struggling a bit with food when you open, and this food was fantastic. And the service was actually really solid. I really was expecting it to be what you expect of a W, and I was very pleasantly surprised by it.
Okay.
I wouldn't probably put families there. It's not that kind of vibe to me. Not that
Yeah.
it wouldn't suit them, but I mean, it still does have more of that, like, you know, a little bit.
Lifestyle feel.
Yeah, it's a
Like
Yeah.
lifestyle hotel.
a little bit of the party and entertainment and lifestyle kind of
Yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing to note, the general manager is Sardinian. So you do have
Cool.
like his kind of like infusion of the culture in what they're doing. And I found that to be really endearing and obvious, kind of in different ways throughout my stay.
Amazing. Okay, so we have two more properties. We're going to shift. Let's discuss Patrizia. Patrizia. Is this how? Yep. Now, this is transitioning to a new hotel. Stephanie, will you tell us about it?
Yes. So I actually visited the day they were closing for the season, and they
Okay.
are transitioning into a Cheval Blanc for next year. So basically, this property is one of like the three that's historically been there as one of the top 5-star luxe properties. And it's a bit more, the read that I got from the original style is that it's very kind of for people who might not want to be in the middle of it all. It's a little quieter, a little more private. And again, very much the traditional Sardinian style. The rooftops have like grass growing on them, very green, but does feel elevated. I got to see some of the renovated rooms, and the lobby was renovated already. So
Okay.
I think my biggest takeaway from that is that they really kind of captured the old aesthetic, but just freshened it up. They didn't go wild and go like we had said before. Nothing is super super over the top luxurious. They didn't really take it to that level, which some Cheval Blancs around the world you do see. They did
Mhm.
keep it very Sardinian. They kept a lot of the like Brittany had mentioned the arched kind of structures, the doorways. A lot of the decor was inspired by some Sardinian tradition. The colors in the new renovated rooms, same color scheme as some of their old rooms. So it wasn't a stark change. It was just a nice, fresh update across the board.
So I opened the website, and this, first of all, I see a beach. So I'm going to ask you about
Hmm.
that in a
Yeah.
second. But this view of like how much greenery there is and like
Hmm. It's very
walking
green.
past through the property is really interesting. And so it feels like, does it feel like you have a room, or does it feel like you have like your own little like space?
It's almost like the Hobbit. No, it's not. Like you feel like you're like going into like, there's everything is green and there's a little door. It's interesting. I had not seen anything like it. Like this property is unique in that way that like the rooftops have grass growing on them. But no, there's
Uh-huh.
proper doors, there's proper, you walk down kind of or you take a golf cart down, a path, and then you veer off to the right and there might be a building with a couple of rooms in it, and then you keep going, and then there's a villa
Hmm.
product where, there's
Hmm.
so everything is very spread out. So it is an expansive property with several pools, like you can see from that overhead, and then the
Yeah.
beach, which I didn't get a chance to visit the beach. I saw the beach from afar, but it is sandy
Okay.
and it's pretty long, as you can see.
So, did you get a sense from visiting the property and talking to the team that like if you've seen Patrizia before, is it going to look like a totally different hotel next year for Cheval Blanc, or is it gonna it's the branding that changes and maybe some changes in the team and whatnot, but it's still gonna feel like maybe what you saw a year or two ago?
Yes. So the
Okay.
outside structures are not changing much. So people who have been coming for years, for example, and are expecting Patrizia, they will still get that feel,
Okay.
but it is going to be just more updated. So I think
Okay.
it's like a nice hybrid. And when we talk about Romazzino, I'll have a kind of a similar bit of
Okay.
feedback. But yeah, they're not doing a complete overhaul of the property.
Okay. Um, which client profile do you envision really loving this property the most?
I think your super high end clients who are used to 5-star luxe luxury. I do think couples, I think possibly the older demographic, especially, would enjoy this property. I also do think it's suited for families, as long as you're okay with, having to transport around in a golf cart or kind of maybe
Hmm.
taking longer to get from A to B. But I do
Hmm.
think it's a pretty well rounded product, and it's suited for, I think, everybody.
Hmm. And it's not super far away from Porto Cervo,
No,
I can see what you mean that it feels like a little bit more
tucked
um,
in.
just like quieter.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go into Porto Cervo and have that experience, it's there. But if you want to stay on property, it's going to be a little quieter, as opposed to like the
Yes.
W is going to be like loud here and loud there.
Yes. Like it's I mean, it's funny because the Cheval Blanc, like equating it to St. Bart's, for example, where you have the Cheval Blanc and it's sort of off on its own beach. It's a beautiful beach and it's high end and you can feel that there. But like compared to something like Eden Rock, which is flashy and you feel the flash the second you walk in, like I think this, Patrizia is the Cheval Blanc of, and it will be the Cheval Blanc of Sardinia. And they're kind of keeping that sort of high luxury, but like a little bit more quiet.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Is there anyone you would not send there?
I don't think so. I think you can get like a lot out of it, like having that proximity to Porto Cervo. If you are someone who wants a scene, you're so close to it. So you have kind of that come back to the hotel, it's a little more chill, go into
Mm-hmm.
town, have the vibe. Probably not party people. Like it's not a party resort.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be the group that maybe wouldn't belong there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to share for Patrizia, or should we move to our last Romazino?
I think
Yeah.
it's fine. Yeah.
As an agency leader, you know how much time gets wasted when every advisor is reinventing the wheel. The Hive changes that. It's your agency's expertise vault, capturing hotel notes, destination insights, and advisor experiences once and making them accessible to your entire team. That means less duplication of effort, more consistency for clients, and more time for you to focus on leading your business instead of answering the same questions over and over. Check out thehive.travel to see how it can support your team. Brittany, tell me your high-level impressions about Romazino. So you visited. Kind of what were your first impressions? What were the highlights? What surprised you? Tell me.
So I was there in June. I didn't go during the conference right now. I didn't stay there, but I had 6 different clients there, and all of them were families. And they
Okay.
really, every single person really enjoyed this property. I kind of got the same impression. The service was top notch. They were very, very good with, I'm a vegetarian, my son is vegetarian and allergic to eggs. Like they understood, there wasn't any kind of confusion. I just felt like they were very much what you expect in terms of service from a bellman. It was there. And the food was definitely very good. Pricey. That's one thing to note is overall, the food in Sardinia is very expensive.
On property and off property, just kind of everywhere.
Yes, but
Yes.
particularly for sure on site. But for example, the lunch I went to was a buffet. It was like a la carte plus buffet. I'm blanking on the name of the restaurant, something like Al Mare, but
Yes.
it was €225, I think, per person. And for kids was something around 150. So my
What?
child is
For
6
lunch.
and eats
Yeah.
buttered pasta. That would be 150. I mean, full transparency, they comped our meal. But it's extremely spendy. My client ordered a lobster and was like, I've never spent this much on a lobster in my whole life. So pricing on food, that's one thing that's
Wow.
very interesting in Sardinia. And I live in Como where food can be expensive, but this is next level expensive.
Yeah.
Like even at Abidoro, to give you an idea, like my drinks, like a Aperol Spritz was like €37, I think, 36 maybe. I mean, all of the drinks were very expensive.
A cappuccino is €12. Like it's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually, my brain is kind of like, breaking it because all of the hotels have a very rustic vibe. Like this is not St. Bart's. This is like a very rustic up and coming destination. So I guess it's just, these are island prices.
I think that they're tailored to the clientele that comes during peak season. A lot of the Europeans that come with yachts, they can afford a $50 salad with 3 shrimp on it. Like this is something that I think is tailored to the clientele that they get the most of. But it is shell shock when, we know our American clients are used to spending in Italy and even in like some of the most, I think, popular destinations where prices are high. Sardinia is like topping the list.
€150 for a child to eat lunch at a buffet is a little bit much.
It was great. They do have other dining options, but that was like I literally had to be like, wait, am I getting these
This
prices?
was at the hotel or this was
Yes.
at a restaurant? This was at the
At the
hotel.
hotel on the beach. And
Yeah.
I dined there as well. I stayed during the conference and we were a group of, it was like a pre-fam. So we were a group of advisors. We dined at that restaurant. So it was quite expensive, obviously, for them to have all of us there. And we didn't realize the price because we sat down and typically, they were like, okay, this is lunch, head up to the buffet. We're going to order a bunch of things. And while the food was spectacular, like everything we ordered was amazing quality. When we found out the price, we were stunned because our clients are going to probably want to eat there. But what I will
Yeah.
say is they do the half board option at Belmond, and doing the half board, you can dine at that outlet and it's included. So you're actually better
Okay.
off going half
Okay.
board and
Okay.
then you can dine there. So there are ways to sort of, I think, um, kind of guide clients
Increase
into
the value.
right, and guide clients in how to maximize their dollar, even though that you
Sure.
should warn them they will be spending on
Okay.
food and beverage. Yeah.
Um, so do you feel that because you mentioned that Porto Cervo is where all of the yachts are hanging out all summer, are other areas of the island this expensive in your experience? Or is this a Sardinia thing? Or this is like a Porto Cervo, we are pricing it because the people who come here can pay for it thing?
So there was one property I visited down south that was definitely on the pricier side. But I would say the southern portion is a little bit more affordable than up north. Up
Okay.
north is definitely like the wealthiest are going to hang out. I
Interesting.
mean, that's really what
Okay.
Sardinia is known for in August. I mean, it's just
Mhm.
that's kind of like the Italian getaway,
Okay.
Mediterranean. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
it's really good to know because this is another really big bullet point of a detail for clients to be like, hey, I know you love this hotel and the price is right, but also just like understand
And there,
that
there
when you're there,
are
it's going to be really expensive.
restaurants that are more affordable on site there. That one happens to be the most expensive. I didn't eat at the other ones, but I mean, definitely that was probably my most shocking thing was every menu that I was kind of looking at. I was like, wow, this is way more expensive than other parts of Italy for food. But I felt like the property was probably I mean, they have a gorgeous beach. They have a kids club. The service is there. I mean, it is what you're expecting. Again, it's not this over the top luxury. It's very like quiet luxury.
Mhm.
But I do think overall, if someone has the budget for it, that they're not going to be dissatisfied by this property. Like all of my clients enjoyed it thoroughly. They have some really amazing villas that they actually upgraded my clients to, and they were like blown away by them. I mean, they're huge villas with their own pools, butlers, etc. Definitely pricey. But that being said, like it all of my clients loved this property. I think I sent a total of like 24 people there because it was all different families. So they really, really
Amazing.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're also transitioning into like a full reno. So by 2026, the new next season, they'll be like two-thirds renovated in terms of all the room product. I stayed in an older room. We all did, and then we saw the new rooms. And again, I think they really did a nice job of seamlessly maintaining the aesthetic because it is such a historic property. I mean, you get the 60s kind of vintage vibe, hand painted,
Okay.
like floral designs on the walls. Like it is so charming in that way. I would hate to see all of that go and then make it a modern resort. So I'm
Mhm.
I'm so happy that they have maintained those aesthetical features, but they are freshening up the rooms and updating them. For example, like my air conditioning was like one of those old school things that you just push across.
Yeah.
Whereas, we'll get like an updated AC
Yeah.
kind of unit, just some small things like that. The shower, it was a tub with like an old faucet, so it's just matching what Belmond kind of puts out there and not totally abandoning the
Mhm.
culture of the resort and the history of the resort. So again, like Brittany said, beautiful beach. I really was impressed by Romancino. I'd have no issue sending anybody there.
So for next season, 2026, bookings could be in an older room or a newer room. So that'll be a
Yes.
really important detail to pay attention to.
Yes, and you can specify with, the sales team, say you want a renovated room, they'll make sure that your client is allocated. And the price
Okay.
point will be very obvious too. The older
Oh,
rooms
okay.
will be priced significantly lower than the new
Okay.
new rooms.
Okay. And then I guess probably complete by the following season in 2027 is
Yeah,
the projection.
that's the goal.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. It sounds like you both really enjoyed this property. Is there anyone that you would not send there in terms of a specific client profile? Like, would you send someone there who's really there to like be as active and doing a bunch of activities and being on off property a lot? Like, does this make sense to make that investment if you're not going to be there a lot?
It does, and we failed to mention there. You could walk. There's a beautiful hike that's walkable from the
Yeah.
property. Like
Cool.
I did it, and it was amazing. And I was so shocked and impressed again that that's like part of the amenities of staying at Romazzino is that yes, you should have a car, but you can actually walk out and do an awesome hike. So
Cool.
I do think it's worth the investment, especially because a lot of these other properties aren't much cheaper. So if you do want that ultra luxe experience, and it's really well-rounded. Aside from the high price point of food on property, I do think it checks all the boxes.
What do you think, Brittany, in terms of client profile? I mean, I know you've had a ton of families there. Does it have honeymoon vibes? Does it have, um, like, would you send, is there anyone you wouldn't send there?
Not really. I mean, I think that it doesn't have it's spread out enough that I didn't feel like you were kind of compressed in on top of each other. So I definitely think that it could be a good honeymoon spot. It would be totally fine for couples. Yeah, I can't. I mean, to me, I think it was probably the most well-rounded property that I saw up north, just in terms of being able to accommodate people. Also, the price point, as she mentioned, wasn't super different from some of the properties that I probably wouldn't recommend as much.
Okay. Would you send a group of friends there? Like, does it have kind of like the quieter, more like hushed voices vibe, or like would a group of friends, having fun, not like DJ, but just like would they feel out of place, or would they also be totally cool there?
I mean, the eyes, I don't think that they would feel out of place, but it's definitely not like a party vibe by any means. If that's what they were looking for, that's probably not the property I would send them to. We're not talking about that, but there's properties that are closer to Porto Cervo that I feel like would probably be.
I've had a lot of like 40th and 50th birthday celebrations with like a group of girlfriends, and who are not like looking for a huge party. They just want like to chill by the pool and to hang out and to have good food, and
it would be great for them, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so high level, let's zoom out to kind of wrap things up. We've got 7 different properties that we have talked about. My first question is, if I come to you and I just say 4-star, 5-star, I want the best spa in the north. Like, I'm really looking forward to like hiking and then having a nice spa appointment, or like spa in the morning and like go to the beach. I mean, you haven't mentioned spa very much. So I'm wondering, like, are these properties not great for spa? Were they just not like, yes, they have a spa, but they didn't really stand out? If I'm a spa person, am I going to be, should my expectations be managed?
No, the Romazzino had a beautiful spa. We toured it. I didn't experience it, but completely equipped for clients who are into it. W's wasn't done yet, so I wasn't able to see it. Yeah, it wasn't finished, but they will have a spa. So
perfect.
And I believe Seven Pines has a spa as well.
Yeah,
I didn't get to see it.
To be honest, I didn't tour that one.
It is the detail that is hard. Like, if you're just doing a site inspection, sometimes it's skipped, or like it's hard to see. Yeah. If I tell you that I want the place that has like the most like authentic sense of place kind of character, I want to like immerse myself in Sardinia, which of these properties do you feel just like gotta go here?
I mean, do you think Capodorsal? Like, to be honest, if that's what you're kind of doing, it's trying to like really immerse yourself just sort of in nature and be still and kind of like island vibes, maybe that. If you're looking for, like, I guess it depends on who your client is, though. It's like that,
right, like Romazzino, right? And the Romazzino would be the higher end option of that.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Where was the best food? Just regardless of luxury, like, where was the best food?
I actually really think the W had amazing food. Romazzino's food was very good. And honestly, Avidoro had amazing food as well. Yeah, I would say out of the hotels we mentioned, that was probably my favorite.
Perfect. So I have not seen any of these hotels. I've not been to Sardinia, but just by listening to what you've shared with me today, tell me if I'm off track here. It feels like in a proposal for a client where you're going to present a couple different options in Sardinia of like, okay, we're going to stay a few nights in the north. Here are some options I want to share with you. It feels like the first few, Ibidoro, Capodorso, and Baglioni, like maybe one client might see a couple of those. Would you say so, Brittany, or would you not put them next to each other in a proposal for any reason?
I apologize. Sorry, I had to move. You might want to cut that. My son just got home, so
You're
I had
fine.
to move rooms. But can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I'm trying to narrow the list to understand which hotels you might present to a client in a proposal, like side by side. Like which options feel worthy of like, well, you could stay here or you could stay here. They both have kind of like great things to consider. They're obviously not the same. So I'm just wondering if Abidoro, Capodorso, and Baglioni, the first three we talked about, do they make sense to be in a proposal next to each other? Or you would say, no, like they're so different, I would never do that.
I think that they could all be in the Abidoro and Baglioni. I definitely think would be similar, for sure. And I think you
Okay.
could throw Seven Pines in there. It's at a different price point, but I would say that those could kind of all be comparable.
Mhm.
But from a price point perspective, Seven Pines is actually going to price much more similarly to Romazino.
The others.
Mhm.
So if we put Abidoro and Baglioni side by side, I assume we're talking about a family just in this hypothetical scenario. How would you guide me as a family, as a client to decide like these two are both fabulous. If you're looking for X, go to Abidoro. If you prefer this or if this is more of a priority, go to Baglioni. How would you guide a client through those two options?
I would say, what do they want to be doing? Because Baglioni is definitely more isolated than Abidoro. So, I personally, I would say if they want to be in proximity to other things, they want to be closer, they want access to other restaurants, towns nearby, then Baglioni is definitely going to be off of the list. Whereas Abidoro is right there. It's kind of
It's right there.
central. I don't
Perfect.
think the room categories are not as updated, etc. It doesn't have like a super special aesthetic to it. But it had a lovely beach club. It had great food. So I think in that way, that would probably be my personal preference of the properties. But it depends. Like if you have a client that's much more into the design side, they might not prefer Abidoro. But for me, I thought that it did a really good job of, providing the beach, providing easy access and being close to, other things as well.
Super helpful. Would Patrizia and Romazino ever be on a proposal next to each other? Yeah, Stephanie, tell me how you would present these two options to clients to kind of help them decide, like both are great, but both are
Yep.
different. So how would you guide
Yes.
a client through that decision?
So I think for between Romancino and Patrizia, I think the
Mhm.
key things to consider are, do you want something that is a little bit, I think, more private, a little bit lower energy, and not in a bad way, but just that's the vibe I got when I was on site at Patrizia. Whereas
Mhm.
Romancino did feel a bit more energetic.
Mhm.
I, it just, yeah, and it might have been because I was there when they were open still, and again, I wasn't
Sure.
there. I wasn't there when Patrizia was kind of in its full glory. But they, from a
Mhm.
service perspective, from what they offer in terms of quality, the room quality, the aesthetic, I think that they're pretty on par. And it would just come down to a matter of, I think, room style, setup layout, maybe view, and I think mobility too. I think Patrizia is a bit more spread out, where
Mhm.
you're walking a lot down different kind of sidewalks and paths and things like that. And I would say Romazzino had the hub of where everything is kind of attached to the lobby, whereas Patrizia, sorry. You have a lobby, but everything else is kind of scattered around the property.
Gotcha.
So I think that's something to consider if someone wants to
Mhm.
be a little bit more active, walking around property versus everything being a little bit more centralized. I would have that be part of the consideration. But I think they both, from a quality perspective, are on par with each other. And I think
Amazing.
that W is like kind of right below that, or might even be able to be on the same proposal for someone that might just want something at a slightly lower price point, but the
Mhm.
quality is there.
Right. I mean, that's also really good to know. Like the W is bigger, it's closer to the town. And if it's pricing slightly lower, like either you could offer the W and then offer Romazino or Petruccia as an upgrade. Or it might be the same client, not looking from a price perspective, but just like, this is actually really close to town. So like, if you're going to go into town all the time, and if you're going to a concert, or, you know, like if you just want like a slightly lower price point, then you're still going to get the quality, the great F&B. You're still going to get like a really overall great stay at the W.
Yeah. Just the beach is not like apples to apples. So that's the one element I would say.
If you're really looking forward to beach, then the other two might be better.
Right. Because the W is located in a port. So you're actually overlooking boats. You're not on like a beach. And then they have a beach club that you would go to nearby.
Gotcha.
But it's definitely in a port. So that's a huge differentiator between all of the properties.
Yeah, the view would totally be different then. That's super helpful to understand. Amazing. You guys, I'm so excited to get myself to Sardinia. I really appreciate the time that you've taken just to share your thoughts and experiences from visiting and staying at all these hotels, and from True. That's the trade show you were at, right? True Sardinia?
Yes.
Amazing. That is a trade show that is on my radar as well. So, but thank you for your time and for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was so fun.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Hive Mind podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And if you know a friend or colleague who would enjoy this, please share it with them. If you would like insights from this episode landing in your inbox each week, join our newsletter at thehive.travel/podcast. And remember, if you'd like to contribute to a future episode, whether it's sharing your destination expertise or your experience touring hotels, just head to thehive.travel/podcast to learn more and express your interest. We'd love to have you join the conversation. Until next time.